Something happened to storytelling here in America. We used to have narratives with soul. We grew up with stories that when you left the theater or you turned off the TV, those stories would stay with you and you'd think about it for a while. And today it just seems like we're surrounded by, empty, meaningless content that's really designed to get clicks, and it's not designed to inspire anything, and it just really doesn't have a soul. I'm Grant Kauffman, co-founder of Wild Yeti Films. Along with my business partner, Renee Layson, we started this little production company because we had a realization that our generation, the generation that grew up really valuing the art of storytelling, was really underserved. Not just on YouTube, but everywhere. And sadly, storytelling is becoming a declining art form. We're being offered podcasts and reaction videos, and what we really crave, honestly, is like cinematic experiences, really good storytelling, and that's where we stepped in with Wild Yeti Films. We think the 40-plus demographic deserves quality, and certainly, truth in storytelling, and really overall good storytelling. And most importantly, we deserve a place where the viewer is respected. Now, if that message resonates with you, you've come to the right place, Wild Yeti TV. Wild Yeti Films is self-funded, so every frame that you've seen thus far has really been a labor of love, to be honest. And we don't have the funding of Nat Geo or Netflix. We're just regular people who happen to have spent years in the production business, and we decided we think that we can fill a void that's out there. Again, we don't have the funding, but we do have an ambitious roadmap. We have lots of great shows that are planned, and the main focus in everything that we do is quality storytelling. Now, speaking of stories, we've been in development with our show Expedition Tales of the Big Bend for several months. We've released 6 episodes, and we're almost done with episode 7. And the stories that we've heard and the people that we've met have been amazing. And we wanted to share a couple of those stories with you in this video. We'll get to that in just a second. But we wanted to explain one quick thing. When you're going through the process of becoming a legitimate YouTube channel, there are several professional hurdles that you have to clear on the platform. And we like to think of it as sort of a launch sequence. Now, it's really a verification process by YouTube, but what it means momentarily is that we're sort of like driving in the slow lane while YouTube works out all the procedural stuff. But we guarantee you that we're going to have more episodes coming. We have a lot of things planned, and we're so excited to share that with you. But speaking of sharing stories, again, we've met so many amazing people while we filmed Expedition Tales of the Big Bend, and we wanted to share a couple of stories as it was told to us by the people who told them in its raw form. We're going to start with Gary Dunshee from Big Bend Saddlery, and this company has been around for really since the whole area was founded. And Gary told us a great story about how the saddlery was actually founded by a German immigrant. Let's check this out.
I came here in 1971, and Mr. Werner, C.H. Werner, was still living then. And Mr. Werner was a German immigrant back before World War I. He was a really interesting guy. Times were pretty hard in Germany, and back when Germany was just fixing to be in World War I, but right before it started, his parents took him down to the docks and made a deal with the steamship captain for him to work his way to the United States on a steamship. He was 12 years old. And he said they kissed me on the forehead, said they loved me, but I'd have a better life over here. He said that's the last time I saw him. And so he gets off the boat in New York, and the first place he stumbled into to get a job was a harness shop. So he worked in the harness shop, learned the trade, and every time he made a little money, he headed west. Everybody told him, you want to go west. So he just kept working his way west. And at one point in time, he was working in a shop in St. Louis, and a harness shop, and he stayed in a boarding house, and he said that the boarding house cost him 25 cents a day for a room and 3 meals. And he made 25 cents a day working from 6 in the morning till 6 at night at the harness shop. He was hand stitching for 12 hours a day, repairing the harness that they were using on the mule teams to build the Panama Canal at that time. And so when he got off at 6, he'd go back to the boarding house and eat. And then after he ate, he would deliver Western Union telegrams till 10, and he made a dime doing that. And that was his spending money. And he wound up in McCamey with a shop there. And then when this one came open in 1926, he came up here and bought it. Mr. Werner would go next door to the Texas Cafe and said he ate the same thing every day. It was a steak with French fries, biscuits and gravy, 2 eggs, and a tall glass of milk. He'd eat that every morning, and then he was through eating for the day. And he'd come back to the shop and open his first hot beer. He kept about 20 cases of beer in the back and opened a hot beer, and he was never without a beer all day long.
Tom Alex is one of the great historians of the Big Bend region, and he's written books about Big Bend, he's written books about Terlingua, but one of the passion projects that he has been the Terlingua Cemetery, and you might have seen him in our previous episode about the Terlingua Cemetery. He has so many great stories about the history of the cemetery, and here's one right here that he told us.
One of the ladies that I interviewed recently up in Alpine, she was born down here, was here in the 1930s, and her family, her brother and husband and grandparents were around. They all worked for the mines in some capacity. One of them had had an accident and could no longer work in the mines. So one of his activities he took on was just helping out in the community, doing odd jobs that he was still physically able to do. The graves, there are about 4 or 5 graves there that have these little concrete markers on them that are about this big. Some of them are kind of pinkish colored and some are kind of bluish, grayish color. And I had noticed that when I did the inventory of the cemetery, but after I talked to this lady, she says, "Oh, that was my uncle." And when he couldn't work in the mines anymore, whenever children would die, he would go over and he would make the crosses for their graves. And over the mine tailings, if you look over in the tailings here below the mining processing plant, the unfired or unheated ore, the waste rock that's dumped out on those big tailings piles, are kind of this blue-gray color. The ore that was processed came out and it oxidized to this reddish or pinkish color. So he gathered up some of that waste material out of those tailings and made the crosses out of those, the pink ones for girls and the blue ones for boys. And that's one of the more interesting stories about the cemetery here that I found really interesting and remarkable.
That's just a taste of some of the great stories. In episode 7, you'll see these men again, like I said, as we explore the entrepreneurial spirit of the Chihuahuan Desert and how people found a way to carve a life out of this hostile climate. The future of Wild Yeti Films goes way beyond just national parks and outdoors and adventure. We know some of you love true crime and you love American history. We've actually launched a sister channel called Gaslight and Gallows, America's Dark Histories. And the whole series is about true crime stories from the 1800s and early 1900s. So if you're a fan of American history and true crime stories of that era, we encourage you to go subscribe to Gaslight and Gallows. Now for those stories, we've created a very specific look and feel. We present these true crime stories in what we're calling the throwback storybook style. So if you remember that feeling of crawling under the covers with a flashlight and opening a great adventure book and getting lost in those gritty cinematic drawings, that's what Gaslight and Gallows is, although obviously it's not for children, it's for the 40-plus demographic. Now we know not everybody is a big fan of AI, but what we've done is we're using AI as a digital illustrator to bring back that storybook feeling into the modern era. So Gaslight and Gallows, it's like true crime with a vintage soul, and if those sort of stories resonate with you, we would love to have you join us there as well. Now looking forward, we're actually prepping for season 2 of Expedition, where our journeys will take us down to the parks of the American South, just another fascinating region of the country, and we'll have plenty more information about season 2 as we get a little bit closer. Now, if you love great storytelling and some of the things that I just spoke of resonated with you, we invite you to subscribe, to share these videos, to leave comments in it, to fully engage in it. And again, it really helps the mission if you watch the full episode. We thank you so much for the early support. Again, we're just getting started. We're so excited for the journey ahead of us, and we look forward to seeing you down the road with some of the great stories and great content that we have planned at Wild Yeti Films.